Good afternoon, Vol Nation. It is so excited to be here with you today. We are thrilled to have UT alumnus Corey Alexander with us today. He's going to be talking about leadership, sports, and entrepreneurship. Corey is no stranger to the sports industry. He graduated from the University of Tennessee in 2012 and progressed through all aspects of the sports industry from beginning as an athlete himself to becoming a sport agency owner. And so today he is going to share with us a lot of different things about what all that entails. He's going to talk about being a sports agent, what they actually do. I think, especially in this current climate, there's a lot of things going on in the world with relation to sports agents. And so he's going to talk to us about that, what it takes to be successful in this entrepreneurship and industry, and then changing the landscapes of sports, NIL, mergers and conferences, and all of that good stuff. And Corey is, I'll give him a little plug real quick. He's a 40 under 40 young alumni winner for the University of Tennessee. So he is doing incredible things in his industry and his profession and is the epitome of a volunteer and Evolve for Life. So Corey, we could not be more thrilled to have you today. I do want to let our audience know that Corey also is really excited to take your questions. So if you have questions for him today, you can enter those in the comments on any of the streaming platforms that you're watching on, and I will be able to field those to Corey later in our chat. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to turn it over to Corey and let him start up today. But Corey, thank you for being with us. We're so excited to have you on today.
No, thank you, Jordan. I appreciate you having me. This is exciting. This is fun. So my name is Corey Alexander. I am a class of 2012 alumni. I majored in political science with a concentration in foreign policy. I was a two-sport athlete, played football and ran track at UT. Track was great until you realize you're really not that fast compared to some other people out there like Justin Gatlin. And I mean, even some of our female athletes, were dominant. But for me, it was a blessing. And then playing football, I got to play with some amazing gentlemen who went on to play in the league. Some of my friends are still playing. Cordero Patterson's doing some great things still in the league. But it's been a blessing, and I'm happy to be Evolve for Life. Upon graduating college, I decided to start a company. I knew that I wanted to work in sports for sure, but what I wanted to do, I wasn't sure. My dad played in the NFL for 12 years, and I moved a lot and watched him have to get released or re-signed or get traded to different teams. And I knew that I didn't want that for my life. So there was never going to be a future in football for me past college on the field. So with that, I started a company called College Bound Athletics, and CBA focused on helping young athletes figure out the path of getting from high school to college to whatever came next in life. We helped with opportunities for internships, with how to earn scholarships, how to request federal aid, how to talk to coaches, how to get on campus, and then training those athletes to be the best athletes possible. Over the course of almost 10 years now, we're looking at right about $110 million in scholarship aid that we've helped athletes achieve, and 450 plus scholarship athletes that have earned that money. So it was phenomenal. I knew that opportunity in sports was on the side to where I got to have a little more control. Something that we talk about in the sports world all the time is two things are for sure. For sure, you're going to move and you're going to get a pink slip, which means you're going to get fired. And I knew I didn't want to do that ever. So starting a company was the big thing that I wanted to do. And with CBA, there's so many opportunities to help athletes to achieve their dreams that we got to do so many different things, from 7-on-7 to helping athletes talk to coaches to traveling to, I've been to over 150 college campuses in the past 10 years. Visiting schools, talking to administrations, figuring out how to get these athletes to the next level. I will loosely use this term. You're a liaison or an agent for younger athletes. Now, back then when I started CBA, you couldn't say that. Now with the NIL and with marketing opportunities, you can absolutely say that you're an athlete's agent. And I'll get into that in a little bit. So from CBA and working at College Bound, I went on to earn my master's in business administration. And that helped me to be able to be the best business person I could be within College Bound. And I started a few other companies. And I currently own 6 companies total. Went on to school again, got my doctorate in leadership and professional practice, joined the military, became an officer candidate, and I continued to serve my country and give back, but ultimately still wanted to be in sports. Over time, having athletes that were really good high school athletes that transformed themselves from being, maybe a no-star or a 5-star to becoming a potential NFL or Canadian football or Mexican football league prospect. So I would have my athletes come to me and say, "Coach," that's what they call me, "Coach, I want you to be my agent." At the time, I couldn't be an agent because you have to have a master's level degree or a graduate level degree, whether that be master's or a law school degree, to become an agent. So made sure I went back to school, became an agent, and in the entrepreneurial spirit, started another company called Alexander Sports Management Group. So we do all sports. We focus primarily on football and soccer, looking to expand into baseball and basketball in the next few years. And I employ other agents that help find athletes opportunities at any level, just because I continue to believe in the underdog. At one point in time, I was the shortest player in the SEC, and I was an underdog, but I earned my opportunity to play football at UT, become a letterman, and really continue to push myself to help people. So my focus in being an agent is to help athletes. Now, somebody asked, what does an agent do? I would argue that we babysit really, really well, and we're really good at it. You deal with a lot of young men and women who are extraordinarily talented at what they do, but they're still very young whenever they get to become a professional athlete. We're talking sometimes as early as 19 in basketball, or 20 years old, becoming professional athletes, making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So how do you manage an athlete that goes to the University of Tennessee, that has everything in front of them that they want? They play in a stadium with 100,000 people or an arena with 35,000 people. They get to travel all over the country. They are on ESPN. They're the trending topic on Twitter or TikTok or Instagram. This young man or woman has everything at their fingertips. And now you're throwing a lot of money at them, and they probably have never lived away from home. So you get to babysit. And by saying that, all I'm saying is you have to truly lead a young person in what comes next in life. How do you rent an apartment in a city you've never been to? How do you find your way around certain places? How do you read over this contract that stipulates your potential bonuses? And where do you pay your taxes? Who handles that? How do you financial plan? What's life insurance? These are all steps that you have to help these out. How do you book a plane ticket? Because I've had to do that for some of my athletes and teach them how to do those things. And that's not any credit to me. Ultimately, that's just an opportunity to help educate young people in how to be thriving adults. So as an agent, that's part of your job. Your job is not the fancy lifestyle of flying all over the country and getting to schmooze athletes. No, you're talking to parents and telling a 21-year-old person's parent, hey, I'm going to take care of your kid. I'm going to make sure that your athlete has everything they need to be successful. Now, over time, obviously, as they get older, you get older, they become more seasoned adults in the game. You have a little bit less to do. But you're taking care of families sometimes. You're making sure you're coordinating with front offices, talking to coaches, talking to scouts, negotiating contracts, renegotiating contracts, making sure that money's being allocated to the right areas, and that you're talking to the financial planners and the people managing the accounts for these young athletes to make sure that they're successful. Being an agent is not easy. It's expensive. You're going to spend a lot of money in recruiting potential athletes. You're going to spend a lot of money in getting to the athlete, getting the athlete from A to B, paying for training, making sure they have a nutrition plan, things that the university did for a long time that you now are in charge of to make sure this athlete's successful. And in some sports, athletes like to live a lifestyle that is reflective of their pay scale now. Managing that athlete and the expectations of what that looks like can be hard. It's also kind of difficult sometimes to tell an athlete who made $1 million on paper that $1 million is not what you think it is. taxes, Uncle Sam, state, local, federal, entertainment, depending on where you live, that $1 million goes away very quickly, very quickly. And the careers are not normally long in sports. The NFL, a lot of people make the joke, stands for not for long. And that's because the average contract in the NFL, the average lifespan of an athlete in football is 2.5 years. 2.5 years. And then you're on to doing something different. So the grandiose amount of money that people think that these athletes make is truly not there most of the time. We can get into a whole longer conversation about that. But ultimately, the big piece of what I do is management of athletes, making sure they have what they need to be successful, working with coaches, dealing with contracts, and making sure that you read fine print really, really well. So if you ever think about becoming an agent, it's always a great idea to go to law school just because you want to be able to learn how to read contracts, read through documents, memos, information, disseminate what information is critical for your client and what information is something that you as an agent need to know. I would definitely recommend contract negotiation classes, making sure that you understand how to read through all of the documents that you're going to get, and then understanding incentives, making sure that athletes know what they're going to get, because you're going to have to explain this to them, to their families, and make sure that you have the best deal for them. I would also preface that you don't want to sleep a lot because you're not going to get a lot of it. You're on the road, you're on the run, you're talking to athletes. If you have multiple athletes, you're all over the place all the time. And if you work with multiple leagues, you've got to know a lot of different people. So people skills, they're critical to this job. You're a salesman. You've got to sell a team on your athlete. You've got to sell yourself to your athlete, and you've got to make sure that you can sell the story no matter what, because in sports, people are paying for entertainment. You're selling the best possible form of entertainment there is, and that's sports. And it brings people together. It makes life a little bit easier when things are hard. Look at what's going on campus for us right now at UT. Sports is drawing us together, bringing people back to campus that haven't been back in years. We're talking about a team that we feel like they can really shake some things up this year, and people are excited. And when people are excited, it creates an opportunity. And where there is opportunity, there's growth. And that's sports. That's being an agent. As a leader in sports and as an entrepreneur for sure, making sure you stay detail-oriented, focused on how to be successful on and off the field as an agent, meaning that you understand business, how to run your business, how to operate as sometimes as a sole individual. And when you have a staff and a team, making sure that they're successful and prepared for what comes next in their careers. I'll say this, connection is critical. Making sure you make good connections with people, viable connections with individuals that can help you along the way, whether that be in real estate, because people have to find places to live, or in administration to help manage them as a business and as a brand. Making sure that you connect with scouts, coaches, and then front office individuals that can help you and your athlete achieve whatever the goal is. And then trainers to make sure the athletes stay successful doing what they're good at, and that's being an athlete. So the landscape is changing in sports. Being an agent is changing. The NIL is the hottest thing out in the sports world right now. What is NIL? Name, image, likeness. Ultimately, athletes are paid for being an athlete now at the collegiate level. Couldn't do that before. You couldn't be part of NCAA football back in the day and not get paid, and that's kind of where all of this stemmed from. So now it's a free-for-all in a lot of areas, but you're having a lot of collectives and organizations and groups come together to really do some great things for athletes. One of the best ones in the country is actually Spire, which does some really good work with Tennessee and with some of the UT athletes. So ultimately, the world of sports is changing now that athletes are able to make money off of them being who they are and their athletic talents much earlier than just when they become pros. As amateurs, they're now being able to be paid marketing deals, get opportunities for housing and cars, and make a lot of money being very successful at what they do off the field, jersey sales. So not only do agents have to deal with adults now, you're dealing with 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds who are being approached about, hey, we have one of the best NIL collectives in the country. Come to our school. Recruiting, whether we like it or not, NIL plays a factor in recruiting. And as an agent, I've got to be able to manage those expectations with parents, with athletes, and with universities. The university has a task of staying out of a lot of the weeds of these NIL deals and letting these organizations and collectives manage these things. So as a sports agency owner, we work with athletes, we work directly with universities saying we can handle the process so that we are compliant, so that the NCAA doesn't have any rulings against us, so that your athlete can stay on the field, make sure that they're successful, and then ultimately get paid for people making money off of them, or from the fact that a university or a school really drives a lot of revenue off of how well they perform. They deserve to be compensated. It's been an age-old question of, do athletes deserve to get paid? Well, now they can, as long as you have the right people in the right places to help them.
Corey, I do want to jump in real quick.
Absolutely.
One of the questions that we've gotten that kind of relates to NIL and how that's working and kind of making its way through the country really is you talked about how the average lifespan of an athlete once they make it to professional football is 2 years.
Yes.
Well, now that lifespan is extended because they're becoming a paid athlete potentially before they even step foot on a college campus. So can you talk about how maybe the focus of caring, if you will, for that athlete went from a 2 to 3 year process to now maybe a 6 to 7 year process, and kind of walk us through what that journey has looked like?
Jordan, at this point in time, I'm sitting down with 17 and 18-year-old athletes talking about creating an LLC for them, creating a corporation for a kid, because he has an opportunity to make $1 million before he even steps foot on a college campus. He's a 5-star recruit, and he already has 30,000 Instagram followers. Well, that's a market base. So we have to manage the expectations of this young man or woman, and women make more in the NIL than men do in a lot of cases. But manage these expectations and build a brand for an athlete before they even put on the colors of their university. So you're talking about that lifespan going from 2 years, 2.5 years to 6 years of this athlete's going to make a lot of money from the time they get on campus, and it's only probably going to become more. As fans start to follow and notoriety starts to happen, marketing opportunities start to open up, you start getting a lot of calls about people wanting your athlete to wear certain things, drink certain things, come sign autographs, be at this place or that place. Hey, will you endorse our apartment complex? It gets complex. So for us in managing the landscape of what this looks like, it's making sure that the right people in the right places, that these athletes have accountants, that they have tax planners, that they have agents that know a little bit about what they're doing, but it's still an ever-changing market. The NIL is constantly moving. We're trying to keep tabs on it, and it's hard. I just did a NIL certification course, and even now it's like, well, good luck, because it may change next week. So it's been fun.
Yeah, I think, if there's been any two hot topics in college athletics in the past maybe 3 to 5 years, I would say NIL is up there, and the other one is probably the transfer portal. Those are the two things that we hear about the most. So another question for you is, how does that work when we have athletes that, are making these major deals? I mean, we've heard about some of the incoming student athletes that we have this fall, this upcoming fall to the University of Tennessee, and these huge deals that they're signing before they even get here. And then let's say they come to UT or they come to their school, and a year later, 2 years later, they decide to transfer. How does that work with those deals? Are those deals mandated to the school that they play at? And can you kind of walk us through how the transfer portal has really impacted the work that you do?
Oh my goodness. So that's a big question. We'll look at the NIL deal first. With these deals, there is always a contract. That contract looks pretty aggressive for some of these major deals, in which the athlete may be charged with paying money back if they don't fulfill their end of the deal. Sometimes there is an upfront. We're just going to give you X amount, and we hope that we get a return on our investment. It really depends on the organization they're working with and the deal that's put on the table and the contract that's negotiated. No two deals are the same. A lot of times, and with it being so new, this hasn't happened too often, but it has already happened before. It's still very young though. An athlete comes to the University of Tennessee, gets an NIL deal from Regal. They're right across the river from Regal to highlight their movies or whatnot. That athlete decides he wants to transfer to Penn State. That contract may not go with that athlete. Or if that athlete's been paid $1 million, he may be required to pay a certain amount back. If he wants that same amount of money, a recruiting tactic is an organization that wants to be part of an NIL collective or brand deal with Penn State athletes can now offer that athlete a marketing opportunity in State College, and that's going to be what brings them there. So with the transfer portal, which is a whole different monster, it completely disrupted recruiting for years. And it's still disrupting recruiting because you're talking about college coaches don't have to go after and recruit high school athletes as aggressively anymore because the transfer portal has allowed athletes to just go wherever they want to go. An enormous database of college trained professionals that why would we not go after a 21, 22-year-old junior, redshirt junior that can play day one versus a 17-year-old athlete that we're going to have to get him up to speed. Now, I'm not saying that athletes shouldn't start working hard or that they're not going to get opportunities because they absolutely will. Recruiting is still there. College coaches still do their jobs extremely well. But if someone gave me a phone book of every athlete that was available and looking, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't use it. So the portal has created so many challenges for athlete agents because we may be looking at an athlete that's in a university in Tennessee or Georgia and they transfer to Washington. Well, that changes how I recruit that athlete because I can get to this kid easy and talk to him, be on campus, go visit him at the facility, talk to his coaches, and now he's across the country. I've got to buy a plane ticket now, and I've got to get hotels, and we've got to organize a lot more things just to be able to court this athlete. So for agents and in this industry, the transfer portal has truly changed how athletes play. You're talking about guys who were starters at a major Power 5 university who leave and are now starters at another Power 5 university doing just as well or sometimes not as well. And how that affects schools is, well, we just got to go find another one in the transfer portal. So it gets complicated. It gets a bit dicey. But overall, I see a lot more regulation coming around that transfer portal in the next few years, just because it's free agency for college.
Right. And that's exactly what I was about to say is it's funny that you talked about, the 2.5 lifespan for NFL players specifically. It's interesting when you think about that because sometimes, if you're not performing well in college, you might also have a 2-year lifespan at your school before you have to jump to another one or go try to find more playing time somewhere else. Or, in situations, especially that we see here is that we sign these big time recruits and it's one 5-star after the next on a roster. Well, the third 5-star is not going to want to ride the bench for 4 years. They've got to find their keep somewhere else too. So just a very interesting system that we're kind of seeing right now. And I did want to throw up another question that we have here. This is from Serena from Facebook. She said, it sounds like agents wear a ton of hats. And I think you've kind of alluded to that and talked about, do you employ support staff to assist or as the agent, do you do all of these tasks exclusively for you and kind of how you handle that and stay on top of everything? Sounds like time management has to be your friend if you're a sports agent. So do you mind to share more about that?
So absolutely. Starting out, you really don't normally have a support staff unless you have a lot of money or funding coming from somewhere else because it costs a lot of money to do this. But I personally do have a staff now. I do have some amazing interns and assistants that help me. I have other agents I work with as well. We outsource for our accounting and for our financial planning, but they're still part of our team. But that support staff really helps keep you on track. The biggest piece is just connecting with your clients, though. making sure that they feel loved and nurtured and taken care of. And sometimes as an agent, we fall short on that because we are wearing a million hats and we are all over the place. So just making sure that they know that you care about them a lot is the big thing. But that support staff really does help to coordinate travel, to coordinate making sure that emails are sent out appropriately, that you're at the right place at the right time. That has been the biggest plus for me as an agent, is making sure I put some really quality pieces around me that can help me with those, especially administrative tasks, to be successful.
Definitely. Thank you, Corey. And those are all the questions that we've had come in thus far. I didn't know if there was anything else that you wanted to touch on, or anything that you kind of wanted to wrap us up with and bring us home. I know you've talked about a lot of great stuff so far. So anything else that you have for our audience today? Anything else that you'd like to share?
No, other than being an agent is one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever done. Working with athletes, being in the entrepreneurial space has been phenomenal. I'm located in Nashville, so it's a great city to do all of this from, and it's a growing place. The one thing that I would recommend to anybody looking at this industry is that you can be young, you can be older, you can be changing careers. Anyone can do this if they want to. They have to put their mind to it. I would definitely recommend getting in touch with people who are in this industry, who can help nurture you and help grow you. But ultimately, I give a lot of credit to the University of Tennessee for giving me some amazing opportunities to put myself in a position like this to really do some awesome things with my career and with my life. So it's been a blessing, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Corey. It means a lot to us. And like I said, you are the epitome of Vol, and doing all the things to make the University of Tennessee just shine really bright. And that's all credit to the hard work and effort that you've put in your community and in your profession. So thank you for lighting the way for the rest of the volunteers to come, and all the great things that you're doing. Everybody that's watched with us today, thank you for joining us. Thank you, of course, to Corey for being here with us today. If you want to watch this again, it will stay on all of the platforms that you're watching on. You can go back and rewatch this at any time. It'll also live on our website at alumni.utk.edu. From one alum to another, Corey, it's been a pleasure to have you on today. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best in your future. And I know you were just on Rocky Top, but we hope to have you back on Rocky Top very soon once again.
Thanks, Jordan. I appreciate it. I'll definitely come home soon. Go Vols.
Thanks, Corey. Go Vols, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.